We need to fill our empty storefronts and we need the jobs. With that, I'd like to introduce a lady who has driven 4 hours from Bend, Oregon to speak to you tonight. Dr. Inge Fryklund is a member of L.E.A.P, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, a national organization of over 100,000 members of law enforcement and criminal justice communities. Dr. Fryklund.
Good evening.
Name and address, please.
Okay, my name is Inge Fryklund. I live in Bend, Oregon, 1239 Northwest Trenton Avenue. State of Oregon is addressing right now exactly the same issues about licensing of medical marijuana dispensaries. And I represent an organization called L.E.A.P, which stands for Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. This is an organization of about 100,000 current and former people involved in the criminal justice system. This includes judges, police chiefs, since the former police chief of Seattle, for example, former U.S. attorney from Chicago. Members are in 120 countries. And it's not that we are proponents of drugs or alcohol or tobacco. Rather, it's our conclusion that these substances are present in the world, whether we like it or not, and that prohibiting them, bringing this as a matter of the criminal justice system, creates problems on top of any problems associated with the substances themselves. And if we look at our experience with prohibition of alcohol, 1920 to 1933, and before I moved in Bend, I spent most of my adult life in Chicago. I was a prosecutor there. We saw what happened with the tremendous amount of corruption and crime and adulteration of alcohol that went on during Prohibition. And the minute those things, Prohibition was repealed in 1933, people with their beer disputes went to the Circuit Court of Cook County. The violence pretty much stopped. Hundreds of people died during Prohibition from adulterated alcohol. And we're seeing some of that problem right now with marijuana contaminated with who knows what pesticides, heroin cut with all sorts of dangerous things. So L.E.A.P's position is not that drugs are a great thing, but given that they exist, the best way to deal with it, we think, is to legalize, which means that you can then have regulations to control. If something's illegal, you can't control it. And I know the particular question before the council tonight is whether dispensaries should be allowed within the city of Weed. They're legal under California law, and right now they exist in Dunsmuir and in Shasta, the closest ones. And even though you could legally prohibit, you can certainly make that decision. A question for any legislative body is not just, can we legally do this, but is it a good idea? And what's the message that we're sending?
5 seconds.
Sorry?
5 seconds.
Okay. All right. So I think the message would be that if you have intractable pain, post-traumatic stress, cancer, that marijuana might help, we don't want you here. And that's not a good message to people who are suffering, or it's not a message of caring for the entire community. And if there are concerns, a license issued, say, for 1 or 2 years, let's find out how this thing works out in practice. And if there are problems, then it can be removed. But so I'm urging you on behalf of L.E.A.P to reject the conclusion of the Zoning Commission and allow medical dispensaries within Weed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.